So welcome to this third live stream in online data collection and management. Today it's actually about two things. And the first thing is that we're looking for inspiration for like amazing scraping and API projects. And the second thing is we're trying to understand more about what scrapers really do and how APIs work, right? And that was the purpose of the tutorial that many of you probably took a look at. And I'll walk you through, but rather than just going with the examples that we have in this tutorial, actually, we're trying to come up with another website or API that you guys find interesting, maybe even that, somebody, would like for his or her thesis or the project, and I'll try to get started. And actually, the nice thing is you're going to see me, fail and like try again and correct errors. And that's exactly kind of the mindset that you're in. So I launched a poll, I think, and I somewhat lost where this polling went. Oh, it's here, right? So, actually, almost everybody is there, but not many people turned on your webcam. So that's good. So please fill in this poll and I'll comment upon it after I kind of go through other things. Then the team sign up is going to happen by next week, or, actually I'll make a bit. I think I made available these groups already. So if you go on Canvas, go to our page, online data collection management, and you'll see a bunch of teams that you can sign up with. And it doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be fixed by the end of next week. To those students that audit this course and don't want to grade, they can go to the no team or just auditing group, just to make sure that I, don't assign you grades or anything. Before we delve into the content, I received some questions. And I'd like to go through them first. So one student asked the question, well, when I open Jupyter, and let me just do it the way I do it. I'm just opening my terminal and I'll type Jupyter Notebook, which shouldn't be written with a comma, obviously. Maybe you guys use the navigator to open and launch it, Anaconda Navigator, right? Or those on Windows computers, they would first start Anaconda prompt before they, open Jupyter. But whatever happens is that somewhat Jupyter opens in, I think in my case, I don't even know what, is this Firefox? I don't even know. Maybe, yeah, I think this is Firefox because it's my default browser. Is this Firefox? Yeah, it's Firefox. All right, but there's like one thing, right? If you want to open Jupyter Notebook in a different browser, you just switch to your server window where Jupyter actually runs, and it got a couple of links for you. So to access this notebook, open this file in a browser or copy and paste one of these URLs. So what you can do instead is you could just like go through a different browser. Well, in my case, let me now just open up Safari and just paste this URL. And you'll see that now you can use Jupyter in a different browser, right? So that's actually quite straightforward. So just go to your server window and copy and paste one of those URLs. These are the login URLs. Okay, then the second thing, students experience some issues with regard to like, well, they're describing it as such, right? My MacBook, the 2019 version, makes noise when working in Jupyter Notebook, and it becomes really, really hot. Also, it's like super slow. What's going on? Well, the thing is that Anaconda, like this environment in which Jupyter runs, is quite heavy, right? It's a big package, and it does require a lot of memory because it's running a server in the background and some computations, and actually it's loading a zillion other packages that I never heard about, but it's somewhat all operating in the background. So it doesn't have a small footprint. That is why your computer is like going a little crazy. My easy fix for this is to work in Google Colab, and you can, all those tutorials you could just like open there. Obviously, when you actually collect your data offline, I mean, not offline, on your own computers for your projects, you can't do it in Colab. So you will eventually have to run it on your computer. Also, it's likely that some of those exam things need to be done on your computer, but in a way, be flexible, right? So whenever there's a little, do this in Colab and there's no warning, it's like fully compatible. So to, you know, keep your computer in a good mood, you could just do that. And then I think that's it. Do you have any other questions before, you know, we delve into it? And I'll comment briefly on the survey, but if there are any questions, please put them in the chat or unmute yourself. All right. So thanks, by the way, for your feedback. Many people say it's okay-ish, so that's the majority. Amazing. Those 3 students that kind of don't agree how things are going, let me know what's going on, because like if you don't, I really don't know what to change, and I'll just keep on going, which I don't want, right? So, you know, the student supposed to cater to a diverse group of students. So, you know, whether you're like into programming already or not, whether you're into web data or not, it should like be inspiring for all of you. So yeah, it's really important that you let me know. All right. So I don't record names and I don't keep track on who puts what in the chat. So please, those 3 students that are not satisfied and there's 1 student that's totally lost, put it in the chat so I can like get you back. It's not too late. So please let me know. By the way, amazing to see that you like the program overall, and it's too much work. I've pretty much downgraded this course all out by like taking out 2 full tutorials, so it's much less than last year. If you have any suggestions for me with this course or for this program, put it in the chat and I'll make sure it reaches the right people. By the way, some of you know me, some of you don't. I really do stuff with whatever feedback you give. By the way, cool that like almost 50% read the article for today. Amazing. And 60% even went through the tutorial. Amazing. And small minority uses Colab. So it's also good that you stick to your own computers. That's fine. But, you know, if you've experienced issues, just use the cloud. And also cool that you spend some time thinking about your project, 60%. If I can change anything with my YouTube videos, because I'm like, you know, I'm not a pro at all, as you may have figured, and I don't have time editing much. So let me know what I can do, please. Please let us know where you look for inspiration elsewhere for this course, right? Or for your projects. Please put it in the chat. You're like extremely silent this morning. So let me know, where did you look for inspiration? Because it could help me even to come up with new stuff and like kind of, you know, do things. So please be a little more interactive, because, you know, it's your course after all, it's not mine. So there are 2 students who feel it's difficult to contact me. Do you prefer anything else than WhatsApp? You know, do you prefer emails? You know, I will answer emails too if you don't think WhatsApp is an appropriate like way to be in touch. If you don't know how to contact me, just go to the support section of this course and you'll find my WhatsApp number, which is a Tilburg number. So it's not my private phone. So it's an account I'm using for WhatsApp, and you could just send me a message. By the way, thanks for those 6 people who don't know who I am. I'm Hannes, I'm your teacher. Well, there are 27% of people who wish this class was offline. So I'm open to talk, right? And well, not change the whole class, but I'm open to meeting you guys on campus and, I don't know, have an extra session on coding. I don't know what you want. So I actually do want to give you a moment to comment on these things, right? So there are actually a couple of points that apparently I need to change. So we need to get into a conversation. So actually, I want to listen. So what is it that you're missing on campus? Is it meeting? Yeah, just give me some thoughts. I mean, there are 27% of people who answered they'd like this class to be offline. Is it to meet to lab session once a week over R? Okay, cool, Doga. Is this for DPrep or is, yeah, I think it's for data preparation and workflow management, right, Doga?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I see some, because it's quite clear, the tutorials, but yeah, sometimes it's happened that the data doesn't run or something. So it's maybe nice.
Is that something that we would have to do offline? Or is this something where you guys and me are available at that, you know, say moment online, and I can take over your screens if you have questions? So I'll just be available like in a digital office hour? Or is that something you want to have on campus because walking around makes things easier?
Yeah, maybe it's also possible to do it offline while maybe like 2 hours during the week where everyone's working on their codes, and then if anyone has questions, they can forward it to you maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Generally, I'd say, yeah. Joanna, you didn't like the offline format. All right. Yeah, we can have like an office hour where I'm available in a way and you work. So send me your time slots. I don't know your schedule. All right. So if you want me to be available to answer questions at specific times, please let me know when that would suit. Doga, can I make you in charge of giving like 3 slots or 4 slots a week, 1 hour slots that suit your analytics schedule? You can put it in the chat. I mean, you have a lot of time today because there are many, just find a few slots. Like for me, Monday works very good because I'm on campus usually. So even if you want to meet me offline, we can arrange that and have like a fixed moment if you prefer that. And I'm not working on Wednesday, but other than that, I'm pretty flexible. All right, just give me 3-4 hours a week that we can do this. Thanks. Good. Where are those people that sought inspiration like elsewhere? Give me some clue of where that inspiration was. And those students that are totally not satisfied, you still need to, anonymously, well, it doesn't work. You can send a message to a friend and then have the friend send the message to the chat or something like this. But please let me know, or just be in touch via the WhatsApp number of this course so that I can actually do something with this. All right. I'm trying to be welcoming to everybody. Good. I'm just saving the results of this poll to make sure that I can refer back to it. Thanks a bunch. So that ends the poll, and I'll continue with more stuff. So let me see. All right, so what are we gonna do? We're first gonna do the web data for dummies, but we're gonna pick a different website, and you can come up with that website. Good. Then we are going on break, and then we got an activity to kind of get you started on your group projects. And for this, by the way, who hates breakout rooms can also like kind of steer the discussion, because I recently learned, Joanna's laughing, thank you for revealing this, but we had a barbecue with Tyson staff, and somewhat the whole notion was that all the students hate breakout rooms. And we thought breakout rooms was the coolest thing ever, but apparently it's not. So if you hate breakout rooms, you just can put hate in the chat. And if I get more than 10 people putting hate in the chat right now, then we're kill the breakout room and we'll do something else, right? I want to listen, right? Good. So, hey, amazing, Joanna. Trying. Okay, here we go. 3, 4. Don't put it more than 20. Oh, you hate the breakout rooms, really? Oh, okay. We'll kill the breakout room. So I have to be a little, who loves the breakout rooms? Put love in the chat right now, because I can put you in a breakout room. But no, I mean, let's see how this goes, right? But if you love the breakout room, you can put love there too, because then, I can address both of you. But apparently we've just killed the breakout room, which is totally fine with me. Good. Before delving in this tutorial, I'll just open the article and explain you just a little bit why it's like really amazing to take a look at this article. Because there's an awesome figure. I'll comment on the breakout room thing, because what I was gonna say is there's an amazing figure in this which kind of summarizes where we're heading. And whenever you work with, your project or in this course and you feel you're lost, just like look at this figure, right? Like in this course, we're just going to go through this entire process of doing web scraping. And we're at the very beginning, right? So I needed to first kind of get you up to speed in Python and, getting to learn Jupyter Notebook. But today, we're starting with exploring like what are like cool research questions or like cool platforms from which you could extract data. It's like after the break, and I'll try to get you more like familiar with the technical skills. And as we go through our course, you're gonna like work through this thing. So I think it's pretty clear And it's a good summary of what we're up to be doing. Just wanted to point that out. All right, so maybe you can start by giving me some ideas and, you know, some contexts that you find interesting. And from that, I'm gonna pick a website that we're gonna take a look at. And you see me failing extracting web data and then fixing those problems. But like, what do you think is a cool like site? What sparks your interest? Where do you think like a group of people that is interesting to like say something about or like do something with in marketing? Where do they go? Like, all right, suppose like gamers are like, gaming is interesting because it's a multi-million-dollar industry, and because you know, I think you know, a gaming industry revenue probably it's been increasing. So, you know, a good source for this usually is Statista, but global overview, yeah, market size. So let's look at this, right? Yeah, it's a growing market. So yeah, by the way, thanks for your ideas. I'll comment on that, right? But, you know, first get an intuition of what's like something cool, and then see on whether it's becoming more important. So, okay, Goodreads, Joanna, Goodreads, let's check that out. How is it different from Amazon? I mean, you can't buy probably. You see what your friends, oh, this is like the last of them of reading. So you can see what other people read. That's cool. Oh, I didn't know that existed. Because like I'm into Tracked TV, which is a platform where other people can see what you're watching, right? And we use this site to understand like what movies people watch on Netflix or Hulu or, you know, other services. So, and back in the days when I worked on this Spotify paper, I used Last.fm, where people display what they are listening to. So, oh, that's cool. I didn't know it existed. Okay, Formula One, Yannick, what website is there about like the context of Formula One? Like what, like player stats, or is it what consumers are saying about it? Is it the personal fan blog of Max Verstappen? Maybe, I don't know. So give me some team budget. All right, Yannick, give me some, like, I'm so not into Formula One. So give me some sites or platforms. Like, you know, one way to think about it is, I think, like getting aggregate stats about the context. But maybe there are like platforms where like fans of Formula One kind of mingle and talk to each other and do something. I don't know. Like, you know, like those people that like books, they go to Goodreads, right? So where do those people that like Formula One go, right? If you want to say something about them. Team budget. All right. Twitch is another one. Oh yeah, sure. I think you can see the general rule. Who said that? Wouter, is that anything that you can see on a computer screen is scrapable, even if it's a picture, because you can scrape the picture and then use like image to text algorithms that kind of scan for what words are on this picture, right? So everything like this you can do. Which Untapped? Jesus, I've never heard about this. Now we're getting interested. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. All right. Drink and rate beers. Yeah. That's cool. We're getting there. So like a research context that I find fascinating is like how COVID affected you know, local restaurants. Like, you know, who are the winners and losers of COVID? Like which restaurants died and which bars thrived after COVID? You know, how did these people rearrange their menu items? Were they first movers and offering home deliveries? Or kind of did they jump on the train when everybody was doing home deliveries? Do they do home deliveries themselves? Or did they home deliveries via like, you know, some external companies like Deliveroo, right? Or like takeaway.com, thuisbezorgd, I think, yes. So that's cool. Okay, so there's so much choice. Is it like a social network for drinking? You can rate each other on how much you're drinking, or is it just about the beer? Probably it's just about the beer. Interesting. All right, so IMDb, it's another one. which, oops, Imdb is .com, imdb.com, Imdb. Oh, there we go. Yeah, which is the movie website. So cool. And Yahoo Finance was brought up, which is another one. Stock market live. Probably you're going to find like dozens of APIs that you can get. All right. So I think let's start can I have a poll, or do I need to prepare a poll? Relaunch poll, download results, edit poll. Damn, I can't have a poll. All right. So I'd like to see what to do. I'm interested in this Goodreads thing personally, but Twitch sounds amazing too. So I'd say let's put up a vote between, okay, Twitch or Goodreads and Untapped. I don't have an account, so it seems a little like you can't access anything without an account, which may be a little difficult at this stage. So let's do, I'd say Twitch or Goodreads. Can we access any Goodreads stuff without having an account, or do we need an account? So let's see, let's go to travel. I think we can. Yeah, I mean, books is also the standard thing that everybody does. All right, let's do a vote. Who wants Twitch? Who wants Goodreads? Just put it in the chat and we'll do like a rough vote. All right, seems like Twitch is way more interesting. Thanks, Lorenzo, for siding with Joanna. But all right, guys, you know, maybe you want to work together on this thing. All right, so first thing that you're doing when you enter a new website, and that's kind of also how this tutorial was, is to browse on the website and try to get familiar with it, right? So let's check it out. I mean, you're more familiar with Twitch than I am, right? You got categories and games that you can watch. You know, you got these channels where just people are talking versus games. So maybe give me a games. Which game do you want? Because let's zoom in on one, right? And find a channel. Or maybe even we can scrape those categories. Oh, by the way, yeah, Sims. All right, Sims. Okay, let me just search for this. The Sims. Is it The Sims 4? All right, good. So maybe something that, you know, we may want is to understand what kind of games are currently live, right? I don't know, maybe that's an interesting thing to kind of understand how active the Sims community is, right? So let me first, you know, do a right click here and go and inspect. And, you know, try to understand a little bit about how this site works, right? So, for example, let's aim at like getting the titles of this, all of those titles, and maybe the number of current viewers, right? So you take this, you know, inspector, please all do that, right? Just open the website. I'll put the thing in the chat. This is the URL. Put it in the chat, do a right click, click on inspect, and start going through, you know, the text. So we learned that in HTML, we have like tag words and class names that together uniquely identify objects, right? It's like the name of a bus stop plus a city. The name of a city and a bus stop uniquely identifies the location of the bus stop, right? And in that very same way, the unique, you know, combination of, let's say, city names, which let's say that's H3, and maybe street names, which is this class, uniquely identifies this text. So we can go on and see, you know, another core text, H3 class, core text, and the username is written in, you know, selector channel link. So this is probably the link to the channel. So, you know, and we have an href, which is a link to the channel of this guy in the URLs, right? So we can explore this page and try to understand how that structure is. Okay. That's always the first thing that I'm doing when I'm entering such a site. And then another thing that we would do as the next step to understand what's going on is to, try to open that site in Jupyter. And for this, actually, I'm using Colab, just because, well, no, let me use my internal, that's fine too. So we just go to documents and open up a new Jupyter Notebook. By the way, in the background, I do want to look at Colab because I'm bad at remembering codes myself. So I want to, get inspiration from the Python Bootcamp as well. So going to this Jupyter Notebook, and like this first thing, by the way, if you have questions about, the first few things of the notebook, let me know. Kind of what I alluded to here was that, in HTML, objects have unique IDs, right? And we use this to kind of later grab that information from the site. And that is giving you that intuition. And in this exercise down here, I think you were trying to load a website into Python. And I mean, what I'm just doing is I just copy paste it to my own notebook because I always start my new stuff with, Jupyter Notebook, with example code, getting some data from Twitch. So let me insert a new cell below, and let me just call it prototype for now, input requests, and let me put in the URL of this game and change this URL. So all I'm doing is to make a request to this website and getting that URL. And I'm trying to run this and just look at the source code. So something that many of you guys do and which makes you ultimately, not succeed is trying to write a beautiful big script that does everything because you're copy pasting from Hannes's notebook and then you change the URL and geez, it doesn't work. All right. So what you need to do in programming is do it step by step, right? Just do the first 2 lines and run it and see whether, it works. Well, what does that mean? Response 200. Anybody knows? Put it in the chat. Otherwise, I'll start Googling. I know what it means, but response 200. What is a response 200? Okay, succeeds, status, request has succeeded. Amazing. If you get anything which is not a 200, you need to have something else like that, such as letting the server know that you're a user, for example, because right now the thing knows we are a scraper. If we do request.text, we get, the HTML content of this website, right? In seeking more inspiration from this notebook, we learn that there is a package called Beautiful Soup that helps us, look for these tech words. You see these H1s, H3, H4, or whatever that was. And I'm just trying to load that here. Rather than just copying it down here, I'll immediately start cleaning up my code because packages usually get loaded on top of a script. And we can just save this now as the variable source code to kind of make sure that we can always refer to this, right? And finally, I convert my source code, which is, we call that source code, which is just like unstructured text, and it's really difficult to see and spot what's going on, right? I wouldn't be able to see anything here, which kind of structures this so we can search through it very easily. So we assign a new variable soup, and we'll use the beautiful soup function, which we've just imported. We've imported it here and convert our source code into this beautiful soup object. Oh, it's not defined. So let me load again, run the source code and convert it to soup. If we now look at the soup, it looks a little more cleaned up. Remember that what we wanted to get here are, these titles. So a very straightforward thing for me to try out is to try to use this tag word H3 to understand whether we get the title. Okay, so let me just do this. So soup.find H3, and apparently this thing, whoops, doesn't have an object get tag. So let me see. Let me try H1. that is interesting because so how would I do this now? So you see me, I promised you that I would like quickly fail this one because apparently something is going on that we don't see this. This could be because the way that we see this website is different from the way Jupyter loads this website in our computer. And to try to understand whether that's going on, I'm writing the source code, which I have downloaded, to a little file I'll call temp HTML. So that I have done, and I think it should be here, temp.html. So I can look at the website and see how the website has been loaded on my computer. And there's like a funny thing that you see up here. Oh, by the way, let me try to open it a little differently. It's not localhost. Let me go to the file. I think it's in documents. I'll call it temp HTML. But apparently that site isn't loading. So something is going on that, you know, keeps me from scraping that website. And it's probably a way of Twitch to protect themselves against scrapers. So let's try to solve this. And this is something unexpected because, you know, that's my risk of like doing this. If you remember from our last session for the, I think I used it in the lecture, right? But let me try to look at use header with requests. So maybe we can try to let Python. Actually, the weird thing is, maybe I need to solve this in the break because I don't know exactly what goes on, why this doesn't work. I think I want to solve it in the break. So otherwise I'll just like keep on, you know, you guys looking at the stream, but it seems something is being blocked, so we don't really see what's going on, right? But that intuition that I wanted to have here is what you do is you load the source code into your browser, you get that page and you change it into a beautiful soup object. And let me, you know, continue with the example after the break, after I really solve what's going on. All right, we're back after the break, and I was just fiddling around, and I need to conclude that with the skills of this first dummy tutorial, Twitch seems rather unscrapable to me, and that has to do with like certain protection that Twitch has on their side. So when you open the source code on the page, what you'll see is that some kind of scripts are running over and over again, and the problem is that, you know, the site, which looks like beautiful in our browser right now, isn't loaded into Python the way we want it. So we have difficulties, you know, being able to extract stuff. I know how to fix this, but fixing this right now is beyond the scope of this. So my, you know, temporary solution to this is I'll walk you through the rest of this example, and some students had questions, and I'll show in a separate notebook on how Twitch is scrapable. That's like kind of the risk when you go out of your, you know, comfort zone with websites that you've never scraped before, right? So the beautiful soup package in general is required or works very well on like simple websites, like this books to scrape website or websites that are scraping friendly, but it doesn't work very well on websites that have protective boundaries, right? So sorry for messing up this example. Maybe Goodreads would have worked, but Twitch in that sense doesn't work very well, all right? So what I'll do now is I'll answer your questions on the exercises in this notebook, and then we'll continue with APIs, all right? So let me take a look at it. So Noah, she asked a question. You get stuck with exercise 7. Okay, so that's APIs. All right, but we'll go through this in a second. So let me just finalize this example of scraping in this notebook by signing into my Google account real quick, and then I can run my stuff. So here we go. So where have we been? We've been at the situation where we ran Beautiful Soup. Oops, sorry. Where we loaded the source code of a website into our browser and looked at it. Run anyway. So here we go. And then we are using our browser's Beautiful Soup package, our Jupyter's Beautiful Soup package, to locate elements on that site. And we do this by converting our source code into a soup object and using the find function to go through that notebook. So for example, on this example page, books to scrape, we would see that the title of the book on a particular page is tagged with the keyword H1. And that is why we can extract it by like searching through our soup object and trying to identify this. All right. The same thing, we can get the product description text by, putting in H2. So I think that is about the intuition of web scraping. So we'll load source code into our browser, we'll convert it to a Beautiful Soup object, and then we try to use a combination of find functions to get to the content that we want, which works very well for very simple websites. All right. How are APIs different from web scrape sites, right? In web scraping, the problem is, especially these days, that sites are getting more and more complicated and complex. But with APIs, that's quite different. Actually, APIs, they're meant to exchange data with. And yesterday, while I was preparing for data preparation and workflow management, I checked out the topics page on GitHub, and I found an amazing API resource here, which kind of is a collection of all kinds of public APIs that exist. And I'll encourage you to take a look at it right now at the website, because it's a very well documented list of stuff that you could potentially do with APIs. So for example, like I sometimes ask students to fill in surveys which are pre-filled in on Google Forms. But when I send you large URLs with like the information that should get filled into this form, the links get messed up. So for example, forums.google.com, I'll show you real quick on how I use this, right? So I'm starting up a new form, and then before sending it out to you, I could like, I think, where is it? Send. Where can I pre-fill in my stuff? Get pre-filled link. Here we go. Fill responses. So I can pre-fill stuff for you. And if I click on get link, where is that? Is that maybe get link? I get a URL where when I send you this response, when I send you this link, your form is exactly going to look like this. And then I can start personalizing your form. For example, by changing anything in this URL. I don't know, this says afternoon. So, if I change this to morning, then probably the pre-filled in form will look a little different. Okay, probably one of those just switched. But sending you this URL messes things up because your email program may not be able to handle the long URL very well. So what I use when I send out student emails, I use an API where I use a short linking service. But because I have many students, I don't want to do this manually. So there is an API that, shortens URLs. So for example, one point, I've really literally never used this thing before. So this may go as wrong as it has gone wrong just now. So this API, blah, 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 is public, so anyone can create a shortened URL. And the endpoint is api.1.co/add URL, all right? And it needs certain, well, there we go, set up Python. So, okay, so it's quite, do they have example code up here? Or maybe in the sake of safety, I'm not going to use this example right now because I may fail, but I'll use the example from the notebook, and then I'll see whether I get this to work in my own time and share it with you just again. So for example, link shortening, you can use it. But maybe, you know, you're into music and there are APIs, for example, to, you know, obtain data from Apple Music. So let's see what they do in terms of APIs. So what can you do? Use the Apple Music API to access information about media in the Apple Music catalog and a user's personal iCloud music library. Well, here you go, right? You are able to obtain data from that too. Or a Songkick, for example, obtain data from music events, upcoming events, user events, past events of a particular user. So actually, it's like totally beyond the scope to give you an overview about all the different things that you could potentially do. But in general, there are three categories of what you can do with APIs. You can get data, you can enrich data, or you can make things magically work. Okay, so examples, get data, right? So for example, I want to get data on the reviews of a particular album on Apple Music. That's getting data. A function or algorithm is something like, hey, this is a long URL, please convert it to a short URL. Or this is an image, let me know what's on this image and give me some tag words. That's a function, right? An algorithm, which runs somewhere in the cloud and I get access to it. And the third one is really, for example, with Philips Hue lights, switch on a light or turn off a light, right? So there are three things, right? Getting data, using some algorithm, or remotely controlling something. And we're using the first two categories here in this course, right? We want to get data or we want to use some sophisticated functionality. So let's look at machine learning stuff, for example. So Clarify, for example, is a computer vision API. So we'll send a picture and that API returns what is on this picture. Or natural language processing. So we use this API to send some text and we get back, I don't know, the emotion which is in this text, you know. And it's always worth like going through this catalog and like trying to see what's there. That's one way in which you can enter the API scene. But another way to enter this is to just Google for APIs, Formula One APIs. I don't have a clue, right? But the API provides data for the Formula One series from the beginning of the World Championships in the 1950s. Non-programmers can query the database, blah, 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 blah. And here you got the documentation. So what's good about API is that usually they come with very detailed documentations on how to get data from it. So for example, here, you could get data on drivers, for example, list of all drivers. And that would kind of give you an overview about it. So to obtain a list of all drivers, go here. And then, you know, the browser already returns you some stuff, but you can try to get this data into Python and then work with it. And I'm not sure you need authentication for this URL, which means for this service, which means like we need like an account for this. I'm not sure we need this. So, and if we don't, we can actually just like directly use this in our browser. And actually, I'm trying to run this with the risk of failing again, but you know, let me do this. So for example, let's go to circuits and get a, well, let's try to extract the information from last weekend, right? Race results. Maybe that's also a little complicated. Let me first get a list of drivers to start from, right? And we'll do it the very same way we've tried try to extract data from our website by having a new request and putting into this endpoint of the API. First thing I'm checking is whether I get a good result, and I do. So the 200 means it's good. Oh, by the way, this really doesn't look like, oh, this is XML. Oof, so many things that you're kind of hitting here. Can we get JSON data from this? I'm not sure. So I'll just stick with the example that I have in class. I feel much more comfortable with this, right? Because like kind of now the data format that I get is messed up and I need to fix, you know, and find out what's going on. So in essence, APIs either return you stuff in the JSON data format, which we're using in this class, or in the XML data format, which kind of this Formula One API was just doing. And I need to know how to convert this back to JSON to be able to run my example, right? So in essence, we're sending a very same request to our browser, but instead of receiving a website with like pictures and very well formatted, we typically receive an object which looks kind of well formatted, which we can readily use. There were some questions about this, and there was one question about question 7, so I'll look into this, which is this one. And maybe Noah, can you ask a question?
Yeah, sure. I got a bit confused by the third question of exercise 7, basically, because it got some code back, but I didn't really understand what the aspects really meant, basically.
Right, so let's try to check this one out. So in this tutorial, we're using an API, which doesn't require you to authenticate, which means like you can just run it without like logging in, which is good for teaching. And all this does is whenever you run it, you obtain a random joke from this API, okay, which is a stupid thing, but somewhat it's good for instructions, right? And then I think let's go through these questions real quick, right? If you run it again all the time, you get a different joke, and that's just how this API works. And then the trick here is, well, the intuition that we wanted to do is like when you turn off your Wi-Fi, obviously this thing will not work anymore because every time that you run the cell, you kind of make a new connection to the server and data gets transferred, right? So obviously it doesn't work. And the third question was run it again and you want 10 jokes to be extracted. And I think a very straightforward way to do this is, for example, writing a loop. And I think this was part of what we learned in the Python thing. We can have a loop, a while loop, for example. While running is true, print Hannes, okay, that's stupid. And we can define a counting variable, for example. Counter is 0. And every time that we run this, we'll increment the counter by 1. Let me write that counter to the stream. I don't even know what the solution is. So let me just do like my solution to this. And if counter larger than 10, we'll set running to false. And then automatically the loop stops because running isn't true anymore. Okay, and we'll end it with an end statement, done. So when we run this loop starts like counting, right? So it sets the counter from 0 to 1, it adds 1, and it writes Hannes plus this counter. And if counter is, well, then counter is 1, right? So it doesn't change running to false yet. So it will still run it, go up again and run this thing again. And it increments 1 again, prints my name with 2, so forth and so on. And only when counter is larger than, not larger than equal, larger than 10, it will set it to false, and then it will automatically exit this loop. So if I want only 10 iterations, I'll need to set it to larger or equal than. Here we go. we've got it covered. So instead of doing this simple, harness thing right now, we could just send an API request by copy pasting this thing in here and making sure we indent it correctly. And we are, printing this request to the screen. So I'm running it again, and now I get 10 jokes from it. You can extract the text of the joke as follows: joke request, joke. So you see, this is a dictionary. It's not a list, it's a dictionary. A dictionary is a list of named elements: ID, joke, and the status on whether something succeeds. So rather than printing out this whole thing, we could just say, we want to extract the item joke from it. Okay, let me do that. So now you're just getting the jokes. What we can do too is we can put it to a list, right? We can define an empty list, joke list, empty list. It's not a dictionary, it's a list, square brackets. And we can append to that list, joke list dot append the joke. And now we're collecting one after the other, all the jokes. And then at the very end, we can just look at the joke list and get all of those jokes in a nice little list, see? And then you can refer to it. You can have, joke 1, joke 2, joke 3. So here we go, joke. Where is it? Joke 0 is the first joke. Oops, joke list. And the 9th one is the last joke. All right. Noah, does this answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I get it. Thanks.
All right, amazing. Good. So what have we learned in this, right? First of all, we've learned that maybe unexpectedly, scraping is hard and APIs can be hard because you're hitting like things that you just don't know yet how to solve, and that will eventually take you a lot of time. So the most important thing maybe as a takeaway for your project is be in touch, because there are multiple ways in which you can scrape stuff, and some things just don't work with the most basic way, which I'm using in this tutorial as a starter, right? So be in touch so that we can like work on these issues that you can then stuck, like how I got stuck in this session at the beginning. And then the other thing is that like typically the difference between web scrapers and APIs is that APIs are meant to extract data, while web scrapers experience blockages. So it's like kind of hard to get data at times. So APIs is always the more legit route to extract data, and web scraping is the more tricky route to extract data. While at the same time, web scraping can offer you data that you can't extract via APIs yet, maybe because firms don't want to share it. So I think in general, web scrape sites are like more unique in a way, but you'll have to strike a balance here. I always suggest you to look at both websites and APIs, right? So if you want to use Twitch to scrape, maybe Twitch has also an API which you can use, which makes it easier to extract that. Well, and Twitch has an API, which we've just discovered like this. So there are always multiple ways to get where you want to get at. Are there any questions about the tutorial? And I will make sure to deliver on the actual Twitch code that extracts data, and also on the actual code that does some magic with URLs. Writing stuff into a list, you can also write it to a file. You've seen me also trying this with a website of Twitch, but just to increase that intuition again, we can have a new file and open it for writing. And now we can loop through our joke list and print the joke plus a new line character so that it opens a new line to this file. And at the very end, we can close this thing. And in that way, we can, oh, it's not print, it's obviously f.write. We can write our data to a file, which runs much better on your own computer, because then you can directly access the file. And I'm not sure where Colab is saving this file, because I'm not using Colab for my research. But if you run this on your own computer, you would get a file in the directory that you're currently in with all those jokes. And that way you can extract data. So it's less than building that data and printing it to the screen, but it's somewhat extracting it so that you can do something with it later for your research. All right, cool. So that somewhat summarizes our web data for dummies tutorial. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, and if this session has been a little confusing for you because I got stuck, you should just go carefully through this tutorial. And in next week's tutorial, there's more to come on how to scrape, and I'll make sure that it also works on more complicated websites like Twitch. All right.